with our word of the day, which is lesson, as you see the Public Enemy lyrics on the screen. What lesson did we learn from this loss yesterday from the Eagles is the question. And what lesson did they learn? Because the season's not over. The 1 seed's over. But the season's not over. Nothing's over. Nothing's finished because of this loss. But a lot happened, and if they don't learn a lesson from this, both the players and the fans, we can end up with some trouble. Now, right at the top, it doesn't matter who said it. I'm not trying to call anybody out in particular. I'm not trying to call any fans out, media, or anybody. But right at the top, if you now still believe that Jalen Hurts is the quote-unquote problem, then you got to learn a lesson. He's not the problem. They scored 50 points yesterday if Jalen Hurts plays off those 5 turnovers. 50 points. Instead, they only scored in the 30s. So what? They scored 6 after the first quarter. They scored 6 after the first quarter, or 12, I should say, after the first quarter. But they scored 50 if Hurts is out there after those turnovers. He can't pick it. He can't throw it. The fact that he
got picked.
The way that he has the same last name as my boy Wilson Pickett. To have to deal with that out there. They lost their composure. They didn't keep themselves under control. Yeah, the refs stunk. You adjust to them. And I hate to blame a game on one person because a lot of people lost this game. CJ, GJ getting thrown out. The defense played poorly. Again, the offense after Kenny Pickett came in where they were downright disrespectful to the pass game, trying to slow down Saquon, something you can't do when you have Jalen Hurts. A lot went wrong. But you had to know, if you're a Philadelphia fan, as they're driving late in the game, that this play was going to cost them.
4th down's an option. He'll look to throw. He's got Smith that struggled and drops.
Now, here's the crazy part. Olsen and Davis were so busy pontificating about 4th down and other stuff and when to take their timeouts, they didn't pay attention to the gravity of that drop. That Devonta Smith drop is also a lesson. Now, A.J. Brown went public with it, but apparently him and Devonta did all that complaining about wanting the ball. They want the ball. They're not getting the ball enough. Even when they were winning 9 in a row, they were still complaining about getting the ball. Well, in the biggest moment of the game, Devonta got the ball, and what did he do with it? Now, you can tell me that the next 10 times, the next 20 times, the next 100 times he catches the ball. You very well could be right. But after all that talking, how about you make the easiest catch of your damn life? You were wide open. It was a perfect pass from Kenny Pickett, who I don't like, but that was a perfect pass. There's no one around him. And the game's over if he makes that catch. The game's over if you make that catch. And instead, I hope the lesson is just talk less then if you can't back it up. A.J. backed his up mostly because in addition to all the yards he got about 1,000 more yards in penalties because they couldn't cover. But Devonta can't do that. Now, to his credit, after the game, he said the right things because we're going to have to talk about 97 different issues today. But let's start with him. At least he said the right things after the game.
I made all the tough catches there, and then the easy one I had, I dropped. It is what it is. Trust the game. Ain't nobody else's fault but mine. I just dropped the ball. Ain't no teaching on it. Just catch the ball. It's simple. I was calling for it, and when they put it in my hands, I got to make the damn play.
I agree with him. Yeah. I mean, that ball was twice he could have caught it. I mean, when you look at it, what are they paid to do?
Catch the ball.
Catch the ball. Saquon, we can't even say he's paid to do that.
No,
that's part of his pay, but it's not a big part.
It's more to run the ball.
And you know what? Devonta, you catch the ball game's over. I mean, it's over.
Ball game's over. And I know there are other things that happen, and we're going to talk about all of them. But right there, Ricky Bo, he's got to make that catch. Despite everything that goes wrong, if he makes that catch, they win.
In all honesty, who cares what has happened in the game? If he makes the catch, the game's over. You kneel on the ball, the game's over. You go home.
Yeah.
You're probably not as happy as you would want to be, but you're happier than you are right now.
Yeah.
It's a catch that has to be made. So now that's 2 this year.
2 this year.
That's 2 this year that have cost the Eagles 2 games.
2 games.
I mean, 2 games, they only have 3 losses. They could be sitting here with 1 loss right now. And here's the other thing. you know you're going to have a bad game sooner or later.
Yeah.
So they had an awful. Well, I don't even know if I would go awful. They forced 5 turnovers, for crying out loud. So where did the awfulness start? I think on play 11 it started. But I think when you really look at this whole situation, one play in the game could have turned everybody's mood right around. You catch the football, the game is over. And this is twice now. It's bitten the Eagles. And, hey, every team's going to have a bad game. So I don't want to overreact, but I can overreact to something like this.
Yeah, and fundamentally what bothers me is the only reason they were able to move the ball at all once Kenny Pickett came in the game is basically when they would chuck it to A.J. Brown.
And a pass interference.
Right, or an underthrown ball that he went and got. Like, that was their only offense. So now Washington late starts to pay more attention finally to A.J. Brown. Yeah. They draw up a play that gets Devontae wide, butt naked open. There's no defenders around him. It's third down, and Kenny Pickett threw a lot of bad passes, a lot of even the one pass that got knocked out by Lattimore, who, by the way, hurt his hamstring again, which stinks. I hate to see players come back from an injury and get the same injury. That probably doesn't bode well for him coming up. Let's hope he's okay, because you never want any player, even a guy who's holding and grabbing and jostling, you don't want anybody to ever be injured. But even that pass on the sideline was not a very good pass to A.J. Brown that Lattimore threw out. But the one time he threw a perfect pass, Devontae drops it. And you had that feeling. Now, this is where a lesson. So, lesson from him is catch the ball. I know he knows that, but if you're going to chirp, you got to double catch the ball. Even if he catches it and falls to the ground, you don't have to score there. Just get the first down.
I got to correct you. That was his second perfect pass. The first one was to Frankie Louvu.
Oh,
that was perfect pass. That was right in his hands.
That was a nice job there.
That was right in his hands.
We'll get to those.
That one was horrible.
Yes, when we get to our Popeyes plays of the game in the next segment, we'll talk about that. The defense, because we can't let them off the hook either, Ricky Bo.
No.
They forced the 5 turnovers, so that happened. And the offense couldn't do anything with them, for the most part, after Hurts was gone. That also happened. But, man, could they not get stops late in the game? And there were so many different culprits. But the one I got to talk about right now is CJ getting ejected. Now, first thing, I don't know how we're going to get to everything in this game in 4 hours today. He gets ejected for apparently saying something. Now, last time I checked, even though they play on Sunday, this isn't church. What the heck could he have possibly have said to be thrown out of the game? Because, again, it is on Sunday, but it's not church. I would imagine a whole bunch of people say wild things on a football field. But I still have to blame CJ because if you know the refs are calling, he already got the first penalty when somebody knocked his helmet clear off his head.
Right.
Which should tell him the refs are calling this game a certain kind of way. You got to adjust to it. By not doing it, it puts McCollum in the game, which gives Daniels 20 extra yards on the run, gives up a touchdown, and now Blankenship and Bourne and Dean, everybody's now trying to cover up for a guy who likely shouldn't be out there in McCollum. He's just clearly not ready for that kind of moment. Maybe they should have put Maddox in there, who's not great but is a veteran. Maybe Sidney Brown has to get himself together and wonder why he's not getting any tick as a third-round pick in his second year coming back from his injury. Why is he good enough to play special teams but gets no snaps at safety? But that CJ loss late in the game absolutely cost them just humongously, and he has to be smarter than that, even though I think the refs were terrible.
You can't really say it cost them the game, but it really probably did in the long run.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know what? You got to be smarter than that. You've already got one penalty. You have to be careful. And I'm sure Nick told him, hey, I don't need you getting another one. We don't need to lose you in this type of game. It looks like it's going to be a closer game. Stay in this game. Stay focused on what you need to do. But, I mean, if you think about it, this is what other teams do. They try to rattle other guys so they do get these kind of, especially after a first one. Aren't you going to try to rattle somebody so they get a second one?
Of course.
Get them kicked out of the game, but you have to stay in the game. If you're CJ, somehow, some way, bite your tongue, you got to stay in that game.
Right, and I think the refs were terrible. They were shameful.
The refs suck everywhere, though.
Right.
I mean, you could go ahead, watch any game. You could pick out plays left and right. But I mean, yeah, okay, they're calling things a little strange. I mean, how many times do you see that many pass interference calls in a game too?
Well, for guys keep grabbing
he
like
did
that,
keep grabbing.
He was just grabbing. He thought if
AJ, by the way, that was one of the greatest plays I've seen by a wide receiver because he pulled in. He pulled in Lattimore on one of the plays and made it look like Lattimore was holding him.
When you're holding that much, you shouldn't be so close to where I can grab you like that. But I think Lattimore thought if I play physical every play, they won't call it. And then they were calling it.
Yeah, they were completely opposite of what he thought.
Oh, no, we're going to call it.
That's knowing the refs. But he's only been back a week.
Right.
Well, really, didn't even play a lot in his first game.
This is second
so
game.
His second game back, I mean, he probably didn't have a really good idea, and he's probably not getting that respect right now.
No, so he struggled against A.J. Brown, but C.J. G.J., it can't happen. Carter has to watch it now. Carter has to watch it now. Even though he's getting held on every single play and doesn't get calls, you don't want to get that reputation. So now he has to watch it. He got penalized. So they lost their composure. And it brings it back full circle to him for a moment, back to Jalen Hurts. And we talked about his leadership and how good he is and all that stuff on this show. But a lot of people the last couple of weeks were really hating on him. A lot of people were hating on him. Okay, I'm not talking about was critical. They were hating. He's the problem? The heck you mean? Watch that team now and say he's the problem. His leadership, his this and that. You know what he is You know what he is? That the best thing about him is that he's the same all the time. You think if Jalen Hurts is out there, he's overreacting to the referees? You think if Jalen Hurts is out there, he's in there riding that wave of emotion the way the players were? They, in the fourth quarter, even though he doesn't play defense, the defense missed him. We see Sirianni is a high-energy guy. And obviously Fangio's up in the booth, so he's not on the sideline. Sometimes when crazy stuff's happening, all the time, when crazy stuff's happening, you need somebody who can stay calm and stays the same. And that's where Jalen Hurts comes into play. Whether they're up 10 or down 10, he's the same. And that's what the Eagles absolutely missed yesterday because when they got up, with Hurts out, they got too excited. When they started getting down and they started getting close, they got too ragged. They were missing a certain level of leadership that only Jalen Hurts can bring personality-wise. And, of course, they missed him as a quarterback. But it can never be said again by anybody in this city who deserves any amount of respect that Jalen Hurts is, quote, the problem. Now, that doesn't mean if he has a bad game, we won't say he had a bad game.
Right.
We're talking about people were talking much larger than a game. Every time there's a problem, it's Hurts' fault. What? Now, after seeing 3.5 quarters without him, did your takeaway from that game yesterday go, oh, man, Jalen Hurts is the problem. Pickett's just as good. By the way, after the first touchdown, I was running this station Twitter. People were saying.
I can't even imagine. People were eating it up. Yum, 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 yum. See, I told you.
Controversy.
Yeah. How about when Luvu dropped back?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I'm just saying. It all runs off of Jalen Hurts, whether it's an option type play, a run pass option, whatever he's doing, there's an extra fear in the backfield. Now, you bring in Pickett, you only have two fears. They're either going to give it to Saquon or he's passing the football.
Yep.
There's no other run option in there.
Hey, not a great passer.
No. And the other part was then Washington was downright disrespectful, walking everybody up, and the offensive line didn't play particularly well after that, although I think more of it was related to just utter disrespect of Kenny Pickett, which you can't have. You see it doesn't work because, and unfortunately, this is what's going to end up costing Saquon the MVP is the quarterback is just more important than a running back. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want more of this content, make sure you like and subscribe. And you can do that kind of over here if you want more of the best show ever.